From the News Channel 5 Network, this is Morning Line with Nick Barris.
Okay, here we go. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us on Morning Line. Nick Barris here on a Thursday. Do you like to eat? I think we all, like to eat. I have a couple friends who I think if they could would be robots and they just squeeze a tube of, nutrition in their neck and go about their way because they just don't care to eat so much, which is fine, to each their own. But I like to eat, and here in the South, it's just an amazing, amazing world of cuisine. We have some fantastic restaurants here in Middle Tennessee, and when you move here from another part of the country, like so many people do, there's things you discover here that you didn't know. Now, I've been here since 1995, and I remember when I first moved here, I had no idea what country ham was. I mean, I knew what ham was, but country ham, my first piece of country ham, I didn't know any better, and I salted it. I mean, that shows how clueless I was. And then I remember saying, let's go get something to eat for lunch, when I first started work here at Channel 5. And I said, yeah, you got a great Meat and 3 place. I go, Meat and 3, what is that? Now, of course, Meat and 3, I guess, speaks for itself. But I'd never heard of that. I mean, there are different traditions and things here in the South, from biscuits here. West Coast, I ate English muffins. You didn't have Hardee's biscuits out there. I mean, there's so much to the food here. Soul food, Meat and 3, and some amazing chefs that do Southern fusion. So we're going to talk about that this morning, maybe get some ideas from you about what you like and what you don't like with our guest this morning. She is a restaurateur, she is an author, she is a really good cook. And Star May is with us from Anzie Blue. Good morning to you, Star.
It's good to see you, Nick.
Blue is right here. Is it in the Hillsborough area?
Yeah, Hillsborough Village, yeah.
And you are are you the executive chef there?
Why, yes, I am.
So you've also written a book, a cookbook that we'll talk more about. And I've been thumbing through the pages. I love looking at the cookbooks. Have to have pictures.
Yeah, for sure.
They have to have pictures. Now, you were telling me before the show, you're originally from Alabama, right?
I am.
Grew up. So you heard me talking about how clueless I was about some of the the food traditions here in the South when I moved here out from the West Coast.
Right.
So Meat and 3s, country ham, biscuits, stuff like that's what you grew up on.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, and the whole idea of Meat and 3, what's your takeaway from that? Because when I first got here, I go, okay, the whole concept, you can choose 1 meat and 3 vegetables. Any idea how that evolved? Why it is that way?
Well, initially it started out as making sure that you got a complete meal.
Makes sense.
Right?
Yeah, sure.
So you get your meat, and then most people say 3 veggies, but it's really like a starch because they get like potatoes or rice or noodles, and then they pick 2 vegetables.
Right.
So that way, a meat at 3, make sure you get a complete meal at one time at a small price. Get it and go.
So it's a great value.
Yeah,
you get
it's a great
all
value.
At once. Usually you can get the meat in 3, but yeah, you're right. So it would be a vegetable, a meat, and then you could get like mac and cheese or something like that. Or,
exactly.
I guess there's all kinds. The greens, fried apples, you name it, go all the way through. Now, and then the idea of Meat and 3. Now, soul food is not something so much of a Southern thing, right? It's all around. Now, you were talking about the type of cooking you do. Did you say it was Southern fusion?
Yeah, I've deemed it Southern fusion because I take a lot of Southern things and mix it all together. Like I tell people, it's Southern comfort food. It's that soul food. It's Creole and Cajun, and I just kind of like throw it in a box and shake it up.
What are your favorite Southern things, then, would you say? I mean, that you use as bases that drew you to this. Maybe what you loved growing up and then what you developed your...
Yeah, like I grew up close to the Gulf Coast, so seafood is king where I'm from.
Yeah.
Here in Tennessee, it's not so much as big. People really do enjoy it, but it's kind of hard to get sometimes. So I've really, really grown to love our shrimp and grits because it's not another one like it in the city. Yeah.
Okay. So what now? You think shrimp and grits? And I remember the first time I heard that when it came about, I was like, well, that just sounds like I like grits and I like shrimp. I just never would have thought of putting them together. Now, what makes yours different? And there's some great pictures.
Well, mine is real. Real Southern, mostly New Orleans influence with this fusion sauce called a Lafitte sauce. And basically it's like a spicy cream sauce with peppers and onions and bacon and sausage.
You come up with that yourself?
Why, yes, I did.
Okay, so you... I mean, there's the sauces and the dishes, and yes, we'll talk about some of your favorite recipes here. But maybe as an accomplished chef like yourself, well, first, give me a little bit of background on how you became a chef. I mean, did you have some classical training? Did you work in other restaurants before? Is it something you just learned from your loved ones who were great cooks, your mother, your father, your grandmother?
Yeah, it's actually a little bit of all of that. It started as a small child with my grandmother cooking grits.
Okay.
When I was about 5, and I was like, I kind of like that.
And she liked you to come on in and help her?
Yeah, anytime she was in a bind, I was always the one that she would call. And then later in life, I was like, well, this seems to keep following me everywhere, so why don't I get a little certificate or something?
But you liked it. When did you decide you thought you'd like to become a chef and maybe do it professionally as a living?
I'm gonna say I was probably about 30.
Oh, okay, so it took you a while to that point.
Yeah, it took me a minute to be like, I'm going to do this. My mom said, pick something, and whatever you decide to do, you're probably going to be great at it. So I was like, cooking seems to be the easiest thing.
But until you were 30, what were you doing killing time?
I mean, killing so much.
Doing other stuff? I mean, you always cooked, but
yeah, always cooked. That's always been a thing. But I did other things too, like I work construction.
Okay.
Yeah, I do tile and put roofs on, and I just tried to do a lot of different things. I work on airplanes. I upholstered boats.
Okay.
I just did I'm like, let me try all this stuff.
Right, but all this time throughout, and of course, you continue to cook for you and those close to you.
Yeah, and in restaurants. Like, that would be like a nighttime job.
All right, okay, so just nighttime job. And is that where you learned some of these techniques? Were there any mentors for you as you went along the way, or what did you pick up?
Well, cooking wasn't always the easiest for me, especially working in restaurants, because, people, they really didn't want, but I'm a type of person, I absorb knowledge. So if I see you do it, I'm gonna try it, and 9 times out of 10, I'm really good with my hands. And 9 times out of 10, if I see you do it, I can do it.
Okay, so and that's the best way to learn sometimes. You see it and then do it.
See it and do it. So I'm one of those see it, do it people.
Are you one of those people that you have the recipe in front of you and you're like, okay, I see that, but I'm just gonna kind of do mine?
Yeah, that's me.
Which sometimes works. I've had my share of culinary disasters that way, but I mean, you kind of like to put your own spin on whatever comes along.
Yeah, and then I started now with recipes. I read the directions first. I don't even want to know what the ingredients are. Let me read the directions. 9 times out of 10, by the time I get to the 3rd one, I was like, oh, I did something like this.
Oh, so you already know. So you'll read the directions, but not necessarily what the ingredients are, but you know what the main dish would be or something. Now, you also served in the Navy?
Yes.
How was the food there?
The food, well, believe it or not.
Come on, it was crappy, right?
It could have been better.
It's kind of like, I remember, in school, the school cafeterias, the French fries were never crunchy.
Right. That's why I was one of the most popular people, because I could cook.
Right.
So everybody would
did you cook in the Navy?
No, I wasn't a cook in the Navy. I had a different job, but we lived in barracks, and so we had a kitchen, and so I would just cook. Because I knew how. I'm like, my mom taught me, my grandparents taught me how to cook. Even at 18 or 19 years old, I could make full meals. Yeah. So they'd be like, Star, we go to the store. Will you make us something tonight? I'm like, yeah, let's do it. Yeah.
Isn't that neat? I mean, you're always the most popular person if you can cook. And you and I maybe are kindred spirits that way, because I was the same way with my grandmother growing up. I remember wanting an easy bake oven. And my mom and grandmother said, we're not buying you one of those crappy easy bake ovens. You want to cook, you come in here and use the real dang oven with us.
Yeah.
And that's what we did. Because I always like the idea of cooking those little cupcakes in the easy bake oven or whatever. You know what I'm talking about?
The little minis.
But no, I was more, they brought me in to do this. And what always has amazed me, though, is that there are so many people out there that will say, well, I just can't even cook. I can't make a hard-boiled. I can't. And I think I take it for granted. I don't know if you do. I mean, it's always come natural to you.
Yeah.
I mean, anyone can cook. I'm not saying anyone can cook well, but there are so many people out there that say, well, I burn toast.
Right. But then that's where it started. There was that negative, we let it in there.
Yeah.
As soon as you said you can't, then now we can't.
Yeah, but just go and give it a try.
Give it a try.
And get
if you burn it one time, okay, we burnt it one time.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter that you burn it 45 times. It matters that you try it 46.
Yeah, and the 46th might just be the good one.
That might be the good one.
Listen, we're going to take a break. When we come back, you talked about seafood, and we'll touch on what you can get from places like the Gulf. But now we do have fish here, and I imagine you have a catfish recipe.
Well, of course I do.
Of course. And we'll talk about catfish. And the other thing, I just wish restaurants could, and I guess because it's a game fish, you're not allowed to make fried crappie.
Right.
Have you ever had crappie?
So good.
Oh, it's my favorite. So okay, good. But again, it's a game fish. I guess catfish is a game fish, but you can buy that in stores. you're not able to harvest and raise crappie and sell it in grocery stores. Maybe there's a restaurant somewhere that has it, but I don't think you can do it.
Right.
But isn't it good? We'll talk
It's
about
so delicious.
our favorite lake fish and some ways to prep. We can take calls. If you have a question or comment about a recipe or want to share one with us, at some point we're going to talk about your biscuits and some of the other fusion dishes that come from your creative imagination, which is really what it's all about. Right after this. Stay with us. We'll be right back.